Caleb here in the Rosa String Works Workshop. Today I've got this Martin D-28. This is, I think it's a 1980, and as comes standard issue with Martins of this age, the binding's loose. Also, the string action is really high. It's kind of a pain to play, so we're going to take a look at that too. And it's just a little dirty, so we're going to try to get it all cleaned up. Well, I think the first thing I'm going to do is get these old strings off here. They're pretty rusty and trash, so I'll get those off of here, but then I think I'm going to work on the binding first. So I'll set her down and we can get to it. So I've got this binding opened up now, and it's actually really clean. Like, there's not a lot of leftover glue or anything, so I'm not too worried about that. I'll probably just put some glue in here. I'm going to use this Canopy Glue Formula 560, and that's by Zap. So it'll focus on it. There you go, you can see. That's the label. It also has a red label. There's one that comes in a red label, and I don't think there's any difference. If there is, you can tell me. Anyways, I'm going to put some of this on here, and I guess I'm going to start it all the way at the end. This usually works really good for plastic to wood, because it's for putting like plastic canopies on model airplanes, or the little airplanes that they fly around, like the radio controlled ones. So anyways, it works good for plastic to wood. It works good for binding. It also is water cleanup, so it cleans up pretty easy. Even if it dries, it just becomes kind of rubbery, so I can usually clean it up even if something gets on the back, and I just let it dry. A little bit of water will clean it right off. This is Stuart McDonald binding tape. I'm going to work my way towards the waist, just because it usually is the hardest thing to get. So I'm going to come up to the top now and work my way back this way.
The other night I woke up from a dream. This dream to me so really seemed. And in this dream I came upon a man who left no footprints in the sand.
I think I'm actually going to get a clamp. This has got rubber pads on the ends. That waist is the hardest part to get pulled in. It always wants to stick out and not go back in. So that little bit of extra help from the clamp should get it good. And I think I can get the rest of this closed up with the tape. That actually worked really good. It's looking as good as it could look. After I get all the tape off here and get it cleaned up real good with some water, you'll never know that it ever came off. And if you're doing this yourself, you don't want to put a whole lot of pressure on this clamp, because if you do, you'll just bend the binding over and then it won't look right. So I've just barely got it pulled in there. Snug enough to just barely hold it up. I'll give this some time to dry. We'll come back, I'll take all the tape off, and we should be good to move on. So now that I'm done with the binding, I'm going to start taking a look at these frets. I've checked and made sure the board is flat, so we're good on truss rod adjustment. So I'm going to go ahead and just take my file and run them down here and see if I catch any high ones. I don't really feel anything, but they are awful grimy. A couple of them are a little flat, so I'm going to go ahead and get the crowning file out, and I'll recrown them, and then we'll come through and polish them up.
Dressed all in white, we walked along the way. For those in need, we'd often stop and pray. Our journey guided only by the night, and yet we walked as if there was a light. Then he said, walk the straight and narrow every day. Then he said, head straight toward the light and never stray. Then he said, lend a helping hand along your way. Then he said, find the love of God on Judgment Day.
So after I used the semi-chrome polish to get these frets nice and shiny, I'm going through with a razor blade and cleaning up the board now. And this will make it look basically brand new. Get rid of all the gunk that's built up. Make the surface look really clean.
Not one of us on earth can understand just how our life fits in the master's plan.
So what really makes it look like a fine finished fingerboard is finally oiling it, and I'm going to use this Be Good wood oil. We've been using this a lot. I think it's really good stuff. It's food safe, so what I've been doing is just been putting a little bit on my fingers and then rubbing it in. I think I'm a little less wasteful that way.
We must learn to lend a hand along the way, so we may find the love of God on Judgment Day. Then he said, walk the straight and narrow every day. Then he said, head straight toward the light and never astray.
And then we take the cloth and wipe off the excess.
Then he said, find the love of God on Judgment Day.
And there you have a fine looking fingerboard with all level frets, ground, and nice and polished. So I've skipped ahead a little bit here, and you can see here I'm finishing up cleaning up the bridge. For a couple of reasons we've decided to shave the bridge. I had 6 strings on here and they were light strings and it was sitting pretty high. Jerry and I have been looking at this thing, you know, looking at it every way you can look at it. It looks like the bridge is starting to come up, but when you really look at it, it is just barely a line behind the bridge. Nowhere, you know, as you come up towards the front, is it loose. So we're guessing there's maybe just the finest bit of finish behind it. You know, there's quite a bulge in the back. I say quite, it's really not terrible, but it's there, and you can tell when you put a straight edge on behind the bridge as opposed to front of the bridge. In front of it's really flat, behind it's really not. But as we look on the inside, it doesn't look like there's any structural reason for it. It doesn't look like anything's loose or broken. There's a slight budgetary constraint on this. So we've decided that shaving the bridge a little bit's not a bad thing. It was really tall when I started. We're talking like 380, 390 thousandths. So I shaved it down quite a bit. Not so much that it's thin, but it's a much more regular sized bridge at this point. So I'm finishing up cleaning up from that. This is probably 220 that I'm using to just finish up this bridge. I may go a little higher, but probably not much higher. So I'm working on finishing this thing up now. The action is sitting pretty good. It's in the 90s. The bass side is a little closer to 100 thousandths, but it's not quite there, and the treble side is sitting about 95. So I'm going through here and putting the Renaissance wax on the top. Now I had already run this over the buffer to make it nice and even, and this Renaissance wax just gives it that final touch. You don't want to put too much on at a time, because then it becomes harder to get off. And I'm not going to get anything near the plastic. Don't want to have to deal with that. For the one I'm buffing it off with, I want to keep using a clean part of it, otherwise it won't come off. So the last thing I got to do here is I'm going to put a strap button on the neck. Before, when this came in, it had a strap tied around the headstock, and that's not good. That causes all sorts of problems. So we're going to put a strap button right here on the heel. I've got a little mark on this piece of tape. I don't know how well you can see it, but that's where I'm going to put this. So you can see there, I've got some tape on the drill bit so I know where to stop.
He said, walk the straight and narrow every day. Then he said, head straight toward the light and never astray. Then he said, lend a helping hand along the way. Then he said, find the love of God on Judgment Day.
Well, I'm pretty sure this D-28 is ready to go. The action is nice and playable. It's actually probably a pretty standard height for an acoustic guitar. The binding is nice and glued back on. It's looking really good, you know, because it was coming loose pretty bad. So now it's back on there. We got a strap button on here, so you can actually, you know, put a strap on here and not worry about it. And you know, I put that antler saddle in there too, and it sounds really good. I'll play a little bit for you. Now, I might get some video of this customer coming to pick this one up, and he might play it for you a little bit.
There you go. What do you think about that?
Sounds great, brother.
Caleb did a wonderful job on it, I thought.
He sure did.
So this is Paul, Melissa's husband, and he found this Martin guitar, what, for about $500 roughly?
Yeah.
You know, I never find them like that. I find them like, you know, yeah, I'll take, you know, $19,000 for it, no problem. And that's the kind of deal I run into, and he runs into the $500 deal. So anyway, he's going to play it for you here just a little bit. And what he just did off camera was as good as it gets. So I don't know if he can top that.
Oh, man. I'm going to lay around the shack till the mail train comes back. Then I'm rolling in my sweet baby's arms. Where was you last Saturday night while I was laying in jail? Walking the streets with another man who wouldn't even know my bell. Rolling in my sweet baby's arms. Rolling in my sweet baby's arms. Lay around the shack till the milk train comes back. I'm rolling in my sweet baby's arms.
There you go. You sure did. Now I'm going to have to repair it again. He just beat the tar out of it.
Great job, brother. Sounds great.
Yeah, when it got here, you could kind of throw a dog through it. The strings were that high, but it's pretty low now. And it doesn't seem to buzz. If they'll stand up to that tight hard of playing, it'll stand up to just about anything.
That's beautiful, brother. Thank you.
Thanks for watching this, you know, a little bit of Martin repair and setup. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, a thumbs up would be much appreciated. Also, please subscribe. Once again, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you wanted to see a little more of what I'm doing when I'm not on the clock, you can head over to my channel. It's Caleb Mills. There should be a link in the description, and there's a few side projects you might enjoy watching there. Once again, thanks for watching.